And we're on. This is 3 yards per carry. I'm Alfredo Arteaga. This is not Simon Clancy. This is not Chris Kaufman. Uh, one is traveling. The other was not available for now. And we needed to get the show off because tomorrow is the big Thanksgiving day of football. And quite frankly, I don't record like on Thanksgiving or Black Friday. I just sit around and drink and eat for those 2 days and watch football. So you got to get our show today. So I got you somebody else. Got you Marek Brave, co-host of the off season with myself, all off season. Marek, how are you?
I'm doing well, Alf. You called in the fourth string QB. Here I am, ready to fill in cleanup duty, hoping to do a good job for the boys tonight. Happy to be on with you. Happy to see your face. We don't do the video version on the off season. This is like the first time we're seeing each other while we're chatting. It's kind of throwing me off, but it's not a bad thing.
Yeah, the only thing is that, everybody that watches this show always sees this profile of me looking this way, not looking into the camera. Like if I look in the camera, I can't see all my screens in front of me and all the stuff that I'm handling. Like if I look in the camera, it'd be like this, right?
Right.
And then I have to bring the microphone over here, and then I have to be doing something like this.
Oh yeah.
And I can't do that, right? So I got to be looking at my controls over here, my screens over here. But as always, this show is brought to you by 305-800-PAIN. That is no longer the theme of this season, by the way, as they're on this little mini win streak that they're trying to extend against the New Orleans Saints. By the way, we will talk about that game in the second half of the show. In the first half of the show, we will talk about the Thanksgiving slate and the Black Friday game as well. A game that Miami actually played in, and a game that ended Javon Holland's career, essentially. If you go back to that game, it's the last time anybody thought of him as a good player. I don't know if you've been watching him with the Giants, but he hasn't been very good.
Well, tough luck, kiddo.
Yeah. So 305-800-PAIN, they're Better Business Bureau accredited with an A+ rating. Your car accident, personal injury specialist, fast connections with trusted doctors and attorneys, always ready to take your call 24/7. Again, that's 305-800-PAIN, 305-800-PAIN. Now, if you want to become a member of our Discord, you got to go to Discord, and you go to discord.gg/OnlyFins, and you become a member there. All access for $4.99 a month. I always put a link to where, and you can see right there in the little crawl in the bottom, but I always put a link to our Discord on every single one of our promotions, so you can become a member. And of course, check out our merch at our store. We kind of look, you're in the merch business as well, Marek, and they don't all hit, right? Like you get a t-shirt idea and you're thinking to yourself, man, this is going to be a hit, right?
Yeah.
And then you look at the numbers as they come in and you're like, I don't know. We're not selling too many of these things, right?
Yeah.
Well, we might have a hit on our hands, because if you go to our store, and to go to our store, you got to go to onlyfans.printify.me. We got our McDaniel Troll t-shirt in there.
That's a good one, Alf. That's a good one.
Okay?
I like that one.
And you could go get it over there for $19.99. Again, we're not trying to get rich on anybody. All right. $19.99. If you knew how much we were making on these t-shirts, you'd be like, damn, really? What's the point? But, we just want you wearing our merch. We want you wearing our logo. So, and why not wear, and by the way, these are very high quality t-shirts, by the way. So why not pick up a McDaniel Troll t-shirt? It's almost Christmas. So pick one up for it makes a great stocking stuffer. We got it in 3 colors, by the way. We got it in black, we got it in white, we got it in aqua. So check that out. All right. Games tomorrow. Man, not for nothing, but this Green Bay Detroit game is like, from your neck of the woods. It's kind of like a loser leave town match, isn't it?
Yeah, it could be.
Because the Bears, and we're going to talk about a little bit about the Bears before this segment is over. The Bears might be at the top of that division. That's going to make Seth Rollins pretty happy. But the loser of this game is going to be like almost a full 2.5 games out of first place, losing tiebreakers with like 5 weeks to go. That ain't good. What are your first initial thoughts of this game, Green Bay and Detroit? I have very, very strong opinion on this game.
Oh,
But
you
your
do?
thoughts?
Okay. Yeah, yeah. I was actually just taking a look at this, and I'm not really quite sure where I'm leaning on this. The Packers get Josh Jacobs back for this game, although Emmanuel Wilson kind of tore it up in his absence last week. He had 2 rushing touchdowns, over 100 rushing yards, looked pretty good. So Packers got that strong rushing attack. Jordan Love a little banged up. He's got the left non-throwing shoulder injury. Um, Lions, they were taken to overtime by the Jameis Winston led Giants just last week. They did prevail. The Lions did prevail. They're good for some home stinkers every now and again. I like the way the Lions are made up. I would love if the Dolphins could kind of copy the way that team is built. Although they've been trying as of late with the run game really going strong for Mike McDaniel, but. Ooh, I don't know. You said you feel strongly. I'm more so waffling on this one. You tell me why you feel strongly on this, Alf.
Green Bay has shown a propensity from time to time to lay pretty big eggs this season. I don't think Jordan Love is playing all that great. And Detroit has hit kind of a groove with their run game, especially with the play calling from Man Campbell. I think Detroit romps in this game. I really do.
Wow. Okay. So you're picking them big.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that they win kind of comfortable in this game. So I don't know if you have a thought on this game, which way you're leaning, but yeah, I kind of like Detroit pretty comfortable here. More than let's call it a full touchdown, How
Full
about
touchdown.
yeah, something like 27-20, something like that.
I like the Lions. They're at home. That always helps, especially on a short week. This is Thanksgiving, so I think a lot of times the Thanksgiving Thursday games don't really get lumped into that Thursday night football type category where
Mm.
where people don't really they look at it and we're always picking the home teams on Thursday, right? Lions at home in this one, as they always are on Thanksgiving. So I'll take the Lions in this one as well. I don't think I'm as strong as you are, in that boat. I don't think a full touchdown, but I'll take them by 3 in this game against the Packers. Real quick, is Jahmyr Gibbs the best running back in football, Alf?
Yes, yes, yes. He's
Wow.
better than Saquon. I think the good question is Devon Achane in the top 5 already?
It's possible. I mean, he's in the
Because
same category as Jahmyr Gibbs, as a Christian McCaffrey. He's a guy who can hurt you on the ground, but also receiving the football as well.
yeah, Jonathan Taylor, he might even win MVP.
Yeah.
So maybe he's the best. I think going forward, you probably want Jahmyr Gibbs because he's younger, cheaper. He hits more home run balls, but Jonathan Taylor's not bad.
Yeah, a
But
resurgent year for him for sure.
it's one or two. It's 1A, 1B, I guess, for me. Those two guys. I think Saquon is kind of on the way out. And that's weird. After a year, he ran for 2,000 yards, right?
Yeah.
But it does happen that way. Like, especially for running backs. For running backs, you just wake up one morning and you're like, okay, you're not that guy anymore. You're not that running back anymore.
I'm old now.
Yeah. So it happens for running backs all the time. So it could be happening for Saquon. But yeah, that's the top 2, and I don't think it's particularly close. Chiefs, Cowboys at 4:00. This is a good matchup. How close were we to pronouncing the Chiefs dynasty dead
Right.
last week?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you look up at the screen and you're like, it's happening again, isn't it? And
Yeah, of
sure
course
enough, it happened again. Man, I don't think they're through losing, but they're not dead. They're not by any stretch of the imagination are they dead.
No, and they always seem to figure things out too. They're always a team that has a few surprise losses at the beginning of the year. We're no longer at the beginning of the year. We're getting close to the end of the year. This is usually when the Chiefs start to play their best football, as the great teams do. It was a close one. They had to have a little magic last week, like you said. But they could be coming into that part of the year where the Chiefs do Chiefs things, and all of a sudden we're looking up on Super Bowl Sunday, and you're seeing the red and white of the Kansas City Chiefs playing on the big screen there. I don't know. This if any year an AFC team is going to unseat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, this would look like the year. But there's still 6 weeks to go in the regular season, and last I checked, the Chiefs still have Patrick Mahomes. So, yeah, like you said, it was a little early to proclaim them dead last week, and they did end up pulling off the victory. And now they head to Dallas on the road on Thanksgiving, short week. But that Dallas defense looking a little bit better, after those trades that Jerry Jones pulled off. We thought maybe he'd be trading for a Dolphins player at the trade deadline. That did not materialize, but Dallas defense looking a little bit stronger, but I don't know. I think I'm still going to take the Chiefs in this one. Where are you leaning?
I'm leaning Cowboys in this one, but I'll tell you one thing about the Cowboys. The Cowboys are proof that it's quite possible that you can build the team through Madden. You could just open up your Madden because let's figure this one out. They were the rare mediocre team that had a runaway number one offense in the NFL. And they have a borderline elite quarterback, two great wide receivers. They could put points up on the board. They could run the football. Their offensive line was good. They have a good tight end. There was literally nothing wrong with that offense. But their defense, worst in the league, right next to the Bengals. And you remember how bad the Dolphins' run defense was earlier in the year?
Yes.
You know who was worse than them all along that time? The Dallas Cowboys, right? But they did the Madden thing. They just opened up transactions. They made a trade for Quinnen Williams, a trade for Logan Wilson. They signed Jadeveon Clowney. And voila, they played great against the Eagles and they won a game. So, man, I think they have too much offense for the Chiefs. And I hate to do this because it's kind of like saying, oh yeah, the dynasty will likely die.
Right.
But man, I lean Cowboys. In this. And you said again, who do you have here?
I picked the Chiefs. I think more of a low-scoring affair, maybe something like a 20-17 or 23-20. Chiefs win. They pull it off last second, but hey, you're going out on a limb. That's a bold claim right there. That this could be the end.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep proclaiming it's the end until it's Patrick Mahomes' 22nd season and he's 43 years old, and I'll be like, I told you it was gonna be the end. I told you it was gonna be the end. All right, and we move to the main event, I guess. Cincinnati at Baltimore. Joe Burrow making his return for the 3-8 Bengals.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of liked his response when they asked him, though. He's just like, I'm a football player. I play football. It's what I do. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And for somebody, honestly, for somebody like Joe Burrow, who for as many people who get on the back of Tua Tagovailoa for being injured and missing games, Joe Burrow is just as injured, if not more injured. I don't know if
he's missed more games. He's missed 2 more games in his career so far.
Exactly. So Joe Burrow is in my estimation, my guess is that Joe Burrow wants to prove that he can stay healthy. He wants to come back and remind everyone that I know I'm made of glass at times, but I'm still a damn good NFL quarterback, one of the best. I want to come back. I want to finish the season strong, whether that amounts to wins or not. You were talking about bad defenses. The Cincinnati Bengals have a terrible defense. So Joey B could come back. The Bengals could put up 38 points and they could still lose 41-38 to the Baltimore Ravens on Thursday night. It's not out of the question at all. So I think just selfishly for him, technically they're still in contention. They're still in the hunt for the playoffs. So they essentially have to win out and get a lot of help along the way. What are they, 3-8 at this point, the Bengals? Yeah. So, I mean, it's very, very, very unlikely that the Bengals will make the playoffs. But I think Joe Burrow just wants to kind of silence some of the doubters, silence some of the critics, and come out and remind everyone that he's one of the best players in the NFL. And we'll see if he's able to do it. Ravens defense started the year off kind of shaky. They've kind of rounded into form, as the Ravens often do. Lamar Jackson not playing like the Lamar Jackson of old. Certainly not like the Lamar Jackson of last year, when, in my estimation, he was the MVP last year after the season he had. But he had that hamstring injury a few weeks ago, missed a couple games, came back, didn't really look right. And since then, he's been battling toe injuries and ankle injuries and really kind of sapping him of his rushing production. And when you take that away from a guy like Lamar Jackson, that's what makes him special. And he just hasn't been special. Now the Ravens have been winning. They've still been winning these games. So, maybe they don't need Lamar Jackson to put on his Superman cape to come out a winner on Thursday night against the Bengals, especially with that poor defense. But I think it's an interesting matchup regardless. And I'm kind of excited to, after everything's all done, after I've stuffed my guts multiple times with Thanksgiving food, I'm going to be excited to sit down and watch that one. But I think I'm leaning Ravens on this one. Just because Burrow coming back, maybe he has a little bit of rust, and that Bengals defense is just so terrible. So I think I'm going Ravens. Maybe let's say 28 to 21 in this one.
Last year, Lamar Jackson had a pair of 4 touchdown, 0 interception games against the Bengals. I would like for him to. Man, it'd be great if he did that because he's my fantasy quarterback.
Mine too.
I'm the rare fantasy manager that has all kinds of injuries, but I happen to have not only Lamar Jackson at quarterback, I have Matthew Stafford also.
Well, so you're fine.
Yeah, I'm fine at quarterback. I'm terrible everywhere else because I got injuries all up and down my running backs. But I'm actually going to play Lamar Jackson because of that stat. He has He has a pair of 4 touchdown, 0 interception games against the Bengals last year. One of them was an epic game. I think they're going to reprise that role once again, right? Bengals are going to give up a ton of yardage, a ton of points. I think Burrow will play great, but they'll lose. Let's call it 40-36. How does that sound?
Oh, I would love that. I actually own both Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow in one of the leagues I'm in, and I'm sitting right here on a Wednesday night, not knowing who to start tomorrow. But you might have just swayed me to put Lamar Jackson in there. And if we get a score like that, 40-36, I think everybody's winning their fantasy matchups this week.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be a fun game, and we're going to look forward to the Black Friday game. It's now a new thing. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for when they start having a Boxing Day game and a Columbus Day game and a Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Yeah, Boxing Day is the day after Christmas, right?
Yeah. They should have one they should have a Christmas Eve slate, a Christmas slate, and then a Boxing Day slate.
Start the season early. Have a game on the 4th.
Just have 162 games. Have 162 games.
There you go.
And we award the trophy to whoever has people alive to line up at the end of the season.
I like it.
But anyway, this is a big one. This is a big one. Your boy's team, Seth Rollins. You could tell him from me. Seth, your team may be 8-3. You have a negative point differential.
Wow. Incredible.
And I think that says something. I've watched the Bears play. And when I watch the Bears play, I come away with 2 thoughts. First of all, yeah, that defense is very, very physical. My second thought is, how is Caleb Williams not fucking this up already?
Yeah. Of the few Bears games I've watched this year too, I got to be honest, I haven't come away very impressed with Caleb Williams. I think he's better than he was, last year, and he's still a young player, so that's what you want from a young quarterback is a little bit of improvement every single year. But he was supposed to be this generational prospect, right? The best number 1 overall pick since Andrew Luck, and I just haven't seen it so far. I really haven't. He misses too many easy throws for my liking.
And then he does some weird things. Like last week, he just throws the ball into the ground when he's getting sacked in the end zone. And he's, for whatever reason, he's just backing up. And TJ Watt is just bearing down on him. And he's like, I'm just going to throw this ball right into the ground. And sure enough, it's a touchdown for the Steelers. He always does something dumb. But then he makes a couple of plays and you kind of like, you give him a little bit of grace. Man, I think that this is one of those. It's not a welcome to the NFL spot because he already had one of those, but it's going to be one of those you are not who you think you are games.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say that the Eagles are just going to smoke them, but that they win comfortably. Yeah, let's call it 31-21 Eagles.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. I think this is a win for the Eagles. I think this is come back down to earth game for the Bears. They realize, okay, we're not just going to cruise our way through the rest of the year. They got a pretty tough schedule remaining, don't they? I think
Yeah.
there's predictors out there that say that they're not even a lock for the playoffs at 8-3 at this point. So, we'll see what happens with them. But at least as far as this week goes, that Friday game in Philadelphia, again, short week, and the Eagles, again, much like the Chiefs, they go through their struggles throughout the season, and then they seem to come out stronger on the other side. They just got too much talent on that offense, too much talent on that defense. Jalen Phillips loves it there, Alf. Jalen Phillips certainly loves Philadelphia. He is not hesitant to remind us at every opportunity how much he
Great.
loves playing in Philadelphia.
Yeah, greatest thing that's ever happened to his life, he says. Yes.
And I looked that up. He is engaged and has a baby on the way.
Yeah. 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 So look, he was invisible his last game against the Cowboys. So it was good to have 1 week where we're not having our nose rubbed in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a bummer. I really, Phillips was one of my favorite players on the Dolphins. And hey, selfishly, I just like listening to him do the bumper for you guys every single episode.
Yeah, notice
And
that's gone, right? Like we got rid of it.
you got to hit somebody up uh, this upcoming training camp. Who you gonna ask? Who's the new bumper? Ollie Gordon. That's my vote. Ollie Gordon.
Ollie Gordon. I was thinking Patrick Paul. Like
Yeah,
I think
Paul's
Patrick
good.
Paul.
Ollie Gordon would cut a wrestling promo for you. I guarantee it. That dude's full of energy.
Yeah, he has a ton of energy. All right, we're gonna go to break, and when we come back, we will talk Dolphins Saints. But first, let me tell you about Underdog Fantasy. Football season is in full swing, and Underdog is the best place to get in on all the action. And it's that time again. It's Feast Week. Feast Week is back on Underdog from November 26th through November 30th. Check the app daily for special promos. Again, November 26th through November 30th. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right, and you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. I already said it, and I'll say it again. I like Lamar Jackson. I like every single one of his plays this week, especially touchdown passes, higher than 1.5 touchdown passes. I like Zay Flowers if you have to put somebody along with him. If you want to take somebody on the other side, I like a lot of points in this game. So I like both quarterbacks. So download the Underdog app today and sign up with the promo code 3YARDS. That's the number 3 yards to score $100 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code 3YARDS. Underdog. Make picks. Win money.
Be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
And we are back. All right. Everybody's healthy. When was the last time we could say that the team seems healthy? Everybody's essentially practicing on a limited basis or practicing, which means that they're going to play on Sunday. The only cause for concern is that Jalen Waddle has some type of foot issue, but he's going to play, so he's going to be fine. Bradley Chubb is dealing with the same thing he was dealing with against the Commanders. He's going to play. More importantly, Darren Waller is practicing, and Austin Jackson is practicing. And it looks like, yeah, they talked up Borum a bit, but I don't think that they're moving him to guard. Frank Smith kind of poo-pooed it already when he was asked. So it looks like Austin Jackson is just going to be placed at right tackle. And I guess Cole Strange is going to stay at right guard. But what do you expect from the guys that are returning for this game? Like, Darren Waller has to add another dimension for this offense because the offense, not that it was getting stale, because it looked fine against the Buffalo Bills, but you could see how it could go stale pretty quickly, right? If it didn't add another dimension.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the entire Miami Dolphins offense these last few weeks has been Devon Achane and Jalen Waddle. And that's pretty much it, right? And Darren Waller, when he's played this season, has been a difference maker for the Miami Dolphins. I know there was a lot of sarcasm from a lot of Dolphins fans when they made the move for Darren Waller this offseason. And you know what? It's completely understandable, right? Uh, in his mid 30s, coming off of an off year when he had retired from the game of football, only really had one or two real solid years with the Raiders quite a while ago. There was reason for skepticism, but Darren Waller came in, had 2 receiving touchdowns in his first game, showed that he can be a difference maker for this Miami Dolphins offense, was a kind of a safety blanket, a security blanket for Tua Tagovailoa, as you often want your tight ends to be. And he was somebody that this offense could lean on when it was the Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane show. Now you're able to get him back. You're able to he's rested up a little bit, coming back from that injury, but he should, while everybody else, again, coming off a bye, so they're rested as well. But while everybody else has played a full season, Waller missed how many games to open the year?
3.
Yeah,
Two.
missed a
3.
couple,
He missed 3 games.
missed a few games, came back, and then was out 4 games, obviously placed on IR. So he should be fresh, right? And he should give Tua Tagovailoa a nice red zone threat, which is something that we saw against the Commanders for the first time all season, was the Dolphins getting to the red zone and not converting those opportunities into touchdowns. Prior to that, they had been perfect on the year. But, he comes back, he gives you that big red zone body. I think he's going to do wonders for this offense once again. I really hope they stick with the heavy package with Daniel Brunskill coming in there as the 6th offensive lineman. I think they've really unlocked something with that. And I give kudos to Mike McDaniel for sticking with it and continuing to run the football like he has the last few weeks. So I hope they find ways to balance Darren Waller's additions, him being back in the offense, with still leaning on that ground game and that heavy package with Daniel Brunskill in there. And I think the Dolphins offense could be significantly better with Waller returning to the lineup.
Is there still time, or is it done as far as finding another wide receiver that you could take into next season and say that could be one of the guys? Or is that done?
You'd love for that guy to be Malik Washington, and he has had spurts, right? He's had flashes this season. In particular, I think he had a really good game against the Commanders. I think he looked strong. I think he was moving the chains, but I just don't think he's shown enough this season that you can count on him moving forward to be the guy, right? I think he's a good player. He's a tough player. He's a physical player. But is he the type of wide receiver that Mike McDaniel wants in his offense, assuming Mike McDaniel remains the head coach, which, things are looking good after winning 3 or 4 games. Things are looking good so far. You get a win against the Saints. You get a win against the Jets. You have an opportunity to get back to 500 on Monday Night Football against Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. You win that game, and now we're really talking, right? And man, we just need McDaniel to start strong, right? Last year, same deal. Started with a lot of losses, climbed back in at the end, wasn't quite enough, but we'll see what happens this year. But I don't know if Malik Washington, to answer your original question, Alf, I don't know if Malik Washington's that guy, but it's looking like a strong wide receiver class in the NFL draft upcoming. Could you see a first-round wide receiver for the Miami Dolphins? Because, barring some massively reduced contract for Tyreek Hill and a miraculous comeback from his devastating knee injury, I don't think he's going to play another game for the Miami Dolphins. And I don't think any franchise could really count on Tyreek Hill returning to form after, what we saw on Monday Night Football against the Jets earlier this year. I mean, that was a gnarly injury. I think his career is probably closer to done than anything else.
Yeah, I think it's gone to. It went from a position where you would look at it and say, you know what, maybe we could get by. Maybe we spend a couple of free agent dollars, but we don't go crazy, and we could get by at wide receiver. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think it's become probably a priority position for the offseason. So I think that first round pick is absolutely in play for a wide receiver. Maybe a guy from Ohio State. I like Carnell Tate. Like that's a player. Like he would be a perfect complement opposite of Jalen Waddle. One thing I don't want, and everybody's been looking at it, and I looked at it and I'm like, you know what? That's intriguing myself. You saw the video of Debo Samuel and Mike McDaniel hugging it up, and you're like, oh, you know what? That makes a little sense. Stop it.
3-4 years ago, absolutely. Sign me up. But
if he wants to do it for $7 million
Sure.
for next season, sure. Yeah, come on board. He makes $26 million a year. No. We're not doing that. We can't do that anymore. Okay. Unless your name is Tyreek, but I think Tyreek is probably done as well. So yeah, I think it's a priority position.
What's a number, Alf? What's a number you'd be comfortable taking a shot on Tyreek Hill kind of returning to form maybe around midseason next year? If he were to stay in Miami, do you have a number you'd be comfortable at, or are you just completely out? Any number is too high and you're done with Tyreek.
I'm probably completely out, but if we're going to prorate a contract and he can only play half a season, what's his rate at his age? Is it $17 million a year? If that's the case, then would he take a 1 year, $8 million deal to play one season, or really half a season?
Maybe in Kansas City. Maybe
in Kansas City he'll do that.
Yeah.
You know, but that's probably my number, which is probably not a number that he's going to take. So yeah, I'm in that first round. I'm in that first round in the NFL draft, looking at wide receivers and looking to add something. But yeah, you wanted something to emerge, or you wanted to. You wanted to see the offense work with like Band-Aids and say, you know what, this could work with just have a bunch of guys that could do different roles. I don't think they just don't have it. Like there's nothing really opposite of Jalen Waddle, and really all we have is Malik Washington. He's a good slot. He's a good slot wide receiver. Like if he's your slot guy next year, I guess you're fine. Sure, but you need a guy opposite of Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, and Nick Westbrook-Ikhine wasn't that guy either. We were hoping, he had the big touchdown numbers last year with Tennessee. Hasn't done anything in Miami. It doesn't even look to have any chemistry with Tua. So that experiment's probably coming close to an end.
Moving on to the defense, a couple of things that they're going to have to think about. Okay, Jack Jones is that something that's going to be a thing next year? I said before the season, I thought he was going to play well, and he was going to play well enough where he was going to earn himself a contract at the Dolphins' expense. I still believe that, because I don't know if Miami really wants to extend him for 2 or 3 years at market rate. I think his market is somewhere around 3 years, $21 million, maybe half of that guaranteed. Would he be willing to come back here and play one season for $7 million? I don't think so. Yeah, especially when he's going to have a guarantee out there and 3 seasons, a 3-year contract somewhere out there, which I think he might earn. But what's your disposition on this? What's your thinking on this? Because look, Rasul Douglas, I'm pretty sure, that's just a 1-year thing. He's older. He might be thinking about being done with this. Like, would he come back for a 1-year deal? Maybe, but the guy to think about is really Jack Jones. Are you giving it some thought, or are you just content to just watch him walk away?
I'm certainly exploring that as an option if I'm the GM. And hell, at this point, we don't even know who the GM's going to be. Is it going to be a Champ Kelly or is it going to be somebody else? And what do they think of Jack Jones? But Jack Jones, interception in overtime against the Commanders essentially gave the Dolphins the win. He's had some really good moments in the aqua and orange this year. He really has. He's looked really good. And he's been doing the media tour over the last couple of weeks, and he has nothing but good things to say about Mike McDaniel. So if McDaniel's back, maybe he goes to bat for Jack Jones, and like he did for Tua Tagovailoa once upon a time, and maybe Jack Jones has a strong voice in his corner with Mike McDaniel there. So I think Jack Jones is a good player. I think a lot of us were worried when he was acquired. I think a lot of us were worried, does his personality fit with that team? And so far it looks like it does, right? He looks like he's kind of an alpha, right? He's leading one of the leaders on the defense. I think I think young players are looking up to him. Young players are following him. And I think he's just kind of a playmaker, right? Like, he's going to give up a few big plays here and there, but he's a playmaker. And he's a ball hawk. And he always seems to find himself around the football. And I think any defense benefits from that. And with the Dolphins, I mean, what else do they have at cornerback, Alf? You got Juju Brents, who is the Austin Jackson of cornerbacks. He's going to get injured every few games, and that's what he did for the Colts. And so far, here we are, season-ending injury for the Dolphins. He looked strong when he played, but how often is he going to play? That's the question with Juju Brents. Like you mentioned, Rasul Douglas getting up there in age, probably a 1-year deal for him in Miami. This was his 1 year. I mean, he's not going to get another one. So where are you at? Are you gonna invest high draft picks in the cornerback room? Are you going to spend free agent dollars that you don't really have at this point on cornerbacks, an expensive position to go out and buy? Or are you going to look at somebody who you already have in-house? It's that devil scenario. And are you going to give him a competitive offer and see if you can get him inked for a couple of years here? I guess, at this point, with so many question marks in that room, I probably am holding on to Jack Jones if I'm the GM of the Dolphins.
Yeah, I'm leaning in that direction as well. I'm just wondering, what's going to get it done? Like, what kind of extension are we talking about here? And how pricey can he be? Because I've seen other teams do incredibly stupid things off of a player having one good season,
Yeah.
and especially a player of his age, because he's not on the back nine. He's like on the front nine. He's like fresh, right? He's right on the cusp of at the end of his rookie deal. So, he's a 4-year player. By the way, he has a streak going. You know what that streak is, right?
Oh, but he hasn't completed that this year, right?
No.
Defensive touchdowns, pick sixes, right?
Yes, he's 3 for 3. He actually has 4 in 3 seasons, but he has 1 in each at least.
Well, this would be a good week to keep that streak going against the less than stellar quarterback group of the New Orleans Saints.
One last thing before we get into a little bit into the weeds of this game. Chop Robinson, are you as concerned as I am? Because this seems like it's a lost season. I understand that there's 6 games left, and a lot can happen in 6 games. He could just blow up in these last 6 games. But it's been an awful season so far for him. Started with an knee injury in training camp, if you remember that. Then in week 2, he takes a cheap shot against the Patriots, re-injures the knee, looks kind of hobbled the following week. And then a couple of weeks ago, he takes a concussion. It's been kind of a lost season for him. Bad sophomore year, and kind of concerning to the point where, I already said that I'd be in the draft pool for a wide receiver in the first round this coming offseason. But man, if there's an edge player that drops to you, you're gonna have to give long consideration. You have to think about it, because hasn't been a good year for Chop Robinson.
Disappointing.
Confidence is not high. Let's just say that.
Yeah, and you have to wonder about his confidence as well, too. Anthony Weaver did go to bat for him this week. He was asked about Chop Robinson's performance, I believe, by Joe Shad and Omar Kelly in a media availability a couple days ago. And, Anthony Weaver did go to bat for him. He talked about how it was kind of a numbers game at the beginning of the season when the Dolphins still had Jalen Phillips. They had Matthew Judon. They added him. Bradley Chubb came back as well. And he was struggling to find snaps for Chop because he didn't view Chop as a coverage player, right? And he shouldn't. Chop Robinson should be rushing the passer on every down, on every passing down. That's something that he should be doing. So we'll see how the rest of the year plays out, because you're right, there's 6 games left. He could absolutely blow up over the next few games, get a handful of sacks, and all of a sudden we're sitting here feeling confident in Chop Robinson heading into his 3rd season in the National Football League. But I'll tell you what, just from a personal standpoint, as an investor in 2 Chop Robinson jerseys, including the pitch blue rivalry jersey that they just released this season, I'm hoping this kid pans out, because I was pretty stoked on the last half of his rookie year, and you got to love the sack celebration as well with the chopping of the wood. But it's been a rough go. It has been a rough go. It has up to this point been, like you said, a lost season, and hoping to see a little bit of a turnaround as we close the year out here. But it sounds like Anthony Weaver's going to give him every opportunity to allow that to happen. He's going to be on the field a lot more now that Phillips is gone. So let's just hope that he can show us something. He can get to the quarterback, and we can feel confident in his progression moving forward, because it hasn't been good this year.
Now, as far as this game, I've looked at it pretty closely. Saints play. I looked at their coverage profile. 40% of the time they're in cover 3, which means that they show a lot of single high looks. I like for Jalen Waddle to get one over the top on these guys. So I like for Tua and Jalen Waddle to connect deep, and I think this is the type of team that Tua could have a pretty big game against. And I do expect so. I do expect the offense to uncork a bit. I do expect the passing offense to get off a little bit on the New Orleans Saints. I expect Jalen Waddle to have a big one. And I kind of like the Dolphins to win comfortably in this game. So let's call it Miami 31, New Orleans 19. What say you?
Yeah. Last time I checked, they were like a 6-point favorite, I think,
6
in
and a
this
half.
one.
Mm-hmm.
6.5. It's all the way up to 6.5. Even Vegas knows that things aren't looking good for the Saints right now. I don't know if you saw today, Alf, Chris Olave, Saints wide receiver, one of their core offensive players, one of the few good players they have. He left practice today with a back injury. He's been a player that's dealt with a handful of injuries in his young NFL career up to this point, and he's not a guy that really is able to bounce back quickly from injuries. So if he left practice today on a Wednesday with a back injury, that's somebody you have to really keep an eye on. Keep an eye on these practice reports, these injury reports through the rest of the week, because if Chris Olave doesn't play and Alvin Kamara doesn't play, and it doesn't look like Kamara is going to play, he left last week's game and didn't practice today. You're looking at an offense led by Tyler Shook minus Chris Olave, with a rookie running back, Devin Neal, out of Kansas. And I know Neal was a good player for the University of Kansas, Rock Chalk Jayhawk, by the way. But that give me a name on the Saints offense besides Kamara and Olave that you're scared of. There isn't one.
Yeah. No, I think they should. Like, this should be a game that they should have in hand. And look, they got asked all the right questions, and Tua said all the right things. And he's not a guy who's known for saying all the right things all the time.
Right.
But he said all the right things. Like, look, man, we don't look at it as 2-9. We look at it as playing against their defense, and they have good players on the defense, and they do. They have some good players sprinkled all over that defense, but they just have the wrong makeup for what Miami is at this point in time. So yeah, I do like them 31-19. Do you have a score or no?
Yeah, I think we're going to go 27-15 Miami Dolphins victory. I think it, like you said, comfortable victory for them. I think the Saints are a cautionary tale, Alf. I think the Dolphins were headed down the Saints path with Chris Greer as GM. And I think Stephen Ross, whether he was aware of that or he was made aware of that by the people around him, I think he made the right call in getting rid of Chris Greer. And, we're going to clean up the books over the next couple seasons and hope to be competitive after that. But I'm happy that the Dolphins didn't just keep kicking the can down the road with a lot of these guys, and hoping to avoid becoming the New Orleans Saints. Because that's a pretty sad state of affairs in New Orleans for the Saints right now. And hopefully the Dolphins can avoid becoming that with a lot of these big contracts they've handed out over the last few years.
All right. Marek, tell the people what you have going on and, how they can reach you on all your socials and websites and all that stuff.
Oh man, I am all over the place. Well, for those who don't know, I am involved in the professional wrestling world. I've been in the professional wrestling world for 22 and a half years. Yeah. I am the co-owner of the Black and Brave Wrestling Academy with Seth Rollins, obviously of WWE fame, one of the greatest wrestlers of our generation. Him and I came up together ever since we were high schoolers and learned the business of professional wrestling together. So we run an academy here in Davenport, Iowa, called the Black and Brave Wrestling Academy. You can check us out on Instagram at Black and Brave Wrestling. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram at mbrave13. And, I do a little writing about the Miami Dolphins every week on the Phinsider.com, Phinsider, Phinsider.com. You can check me out there as well. This was fun, Alf. This was fun. Thanks for having me.
All right. And again, by the way, he is a member of our Discord. And if you want to go to our Discord, again, I put a link in every single one of these shows. So you go just click on it. Remember, do it on the desktop. Join on the desktop to avoid the Apple upcharges. And again, that's discord.gg/onlyfins. You become a member there, all access for $4.99 a month. We will talk to you again next week.
Peace.